Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I am not alone. Look to your neighbor and say, I'm not alone. It may seem like I'm alone, but I'm not alone. Amen. Praise to you. You are dismissed. My God, God bless you on this morning. Oh my God. My God. God bless you, Bishop. Good morning. How are you this morning? It's so good to have my bishop back in the house. Amen. But real quick, before we get started, I have to obey God, if that's all right with you guys. Bishop, last Saturday, I went to a musical, and they began to play this song. And this song hit my spirit. And there was a word from the song that was spoken. And God told me that when I stand before his people to make sure I declare this word, and the word is again. So I need somebody to look at their neighbor and say again. Again. Yeah, God's getting ready to do it again. God's getting ready to give you smile again. God is getting ready to give you peace again. God is getting ready to give you joy again. Somebody needs to know that God is getting ready to run that thing back. Somebody needs an encore in their life. And God told me if I declare this over the house, that he would do it. But you got to open up your mouth and you got to say it. Say, God, thank you for the again. Yeah, thank you for the again. Yeah, he's getting ready to give you your peace again. He's getting ready to give you your joy again. He's getting ready to give you your smile again. He's getting ready to open that door again. He's getting ready to run that thing back again. I need somebody to open up your mouth and shout again. Yeah. He's getting ready to do it. He's getting ready to do it. You better expect it. You better get ready for it. You better declare it. You better declare the demon that God is getting ready to do it again. Yes, the door was closed in your face, but he's getting ready to open it. Yes, the man walked down on you, but he's getting ready to give you your joy back. Yes, still hurt, but he's getting ready to give you your healing again. Somebody shout again. Oh, I didn't come to play with you this morning. I just came as a messenger of Christ that he's getting ready to do it again. Okay, let me again. He's getting ready to do it again. He's getting ready to give you the joy again. He's getting ready to open the door again. He's getting ready to give you the business again. He's getting ready to give you the money again. You saying, Elder Boudreaux, why you keep saying again? Because I want you to get it in your spirit that what God said is he's getting ready to do it again. Oh, he's getting ready to give you the money again. He's getting ready to give you the car again. He's getting ready to give you the sleep again. Somebody's in here been resting and sleep tonight, but God said he's getting ready to give you your sleep again. He's getting ready to give you your rest again. He's getting ready to give you your smile again. You haven't smiled in a long time, but he's getting ready to do it again. I dare you to open up your mouth and say, God, do it again. God, do it again. Oh, Father, we thank you this morning. We thank you for what's getting ready to take place in this place on this morning. God, I ask you that I may decrease and you may increase. God, use me for your glory. Open up the eyes and the ears of your people so that, Father God, they not only hear this word, but, Father, they can walk this word. They can live this word. They can stand on this word. And, Father, we give you praise in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. You may be seated this morning. Oh, my God. Again. I don't care what took place before, but he's getting ready to do it again. I don't care what happened before, he's getting ready to do it again. I don't care what they said before, but he's getting ready to do it again. Yes, Lord, the opportunity is coming again. Yes, Lord, it's coming again. It's coming again. It's coming again. Somebody is hurting, but he's getting ready to heal you again. Oh, again. Yeah, you messed up the business the first time, but he's getting ready to give it to you again. Yes, you messed up the money the first time, but he's getting ready to give it to you again. Again. Oh, okay. Oh, again. Again, I'm telling you, I'm just the messenger this morning. I'm just the messenger, but I've been laying before his face, Elder Rollins, and he told me this clearly as day that if I declare again that he was going to do it again. So you better start expecting your again, because I know as my name is Kevin DeMond Boudreaux, he's getting ready to do it again. Again. Again, God bless you on this morning. I'm so happy to be before you this morning. Do me a favor, before we get started. Can y'all help me honor my beautiful wife this morning? Miss Boudreaux. Oh, yes, God. Yes, Lord, that she gave to me. Yes, Mama, you did. Yes, Lord. And I want to tell y'all, I was so focused on studying and getting in this word. I reached out to her. I said, hey, can you pick out my attire for Sunday? And this is what she came up with. This is what she came up with. From head to toe. You know what I'm saying? So this ain't be the man here. This be Miss Boudreaux. This ain't even be the man right here. This be Miss Boudreaux here. I came home from work one night, she had it laid out on the bed. I said, okay, there it is. I said, there it is. Hey, and as you can see, she know what she doing. Yeah, I said, hey, yeah, I got a little competition in the household. Amen. My God, today I was like, oh. And yes, Lord, and she can do it again anytime she feels like it, amen. So she may do it next Sunday. She may do it the following Sunday. She may do it on a Saturday. Whenever she feels like doing it, she can do it again. And while we are applauding, can we please put our hands together for our senior pastor, Bishop Boudreaux, who's back with us in the house this morning. Oh, my God. Yes, Lord. The trailblazer herself. Yes, Lord. The one and only. My God. A lot of people like to talk about why and the things that she does. But I want to talk about the things that she doesn't. Amen. One of the things she doesn't do is let you quit. She refuses. I don't care what your sob story may be. I don't care what you may be having going on. She will not let you quit. Another thing she will not do is she will not speak one thing and live another. That's probably one of the biggest things that I love about her, is that what she speaks, she lives. So she don't speak one thing and go out the door and live another way. That's not her. Oh my God. And the last thing is, I deem her to be my professional towel returner. Yeah. You said, what is a towel returner? It's real simple. Sister Kimberly Carter. I mean, yeah, she's not even in here, but I mean, Sister Kimberly Finley. Towel returner is when I give her my towel, she gives it back. She's a towel returner because she says, excuse me, I think this belongs to you. Excuse me, your purpose is tied into this. Excuse me, your destiny is tied into this. Excuse me, your family is tied into this. So, sir, you need this back. And there have been times that she would throw it back, and I wanted to throw it back, and she'll throw it back, and I throw it, and she'll throw it back. And the crazy part about it is, I'm throwing the towel physically, but sometimes you can throw it mentally, and she'll throw it back. Sometimes you can throw it spiritually, and she can throw it back. So I honor this great, mighty woman of God for her being my official towel returner. Amen. Yes, Lord, I thank her so very much. I didn't know she was going to be here this morning, but you know what? I'm glad to see her. And she's looking good. She's looking vibrant. And she's looking like she's ready to take back over her pulpit. Amen. Oh, but while she is resting, we have had the privilege of having some awesome speakers come before us. Yes, Lord. These people have done a mighty work. This month in February, we deemed it Love Month, and we deemed it Don't Fake It, before I get to today's word, do y'all mind if we just do a recap of the month of February of what we've been learning here at BEC? Is that all right? February the 17th, which was last Sunday, Elder Kimberly Carter, the prospective coach, came before us and she said, "Is your faith fireproof?" And we learned about the thorough house cleaning and how the house cleaning needed to start in your mind. We learned how we were going from religion to relationship. We learned the different types of faith: growing faith, strong faith, common faith, little faith, weak faith, wavering faith, just to name a few. We learned the three different faiths also: no faith, little faith, great faith. Amen. And then she told us the three things of what we needed to do in order to fireproof our faith. The first one was study God's word. The second one was believe. And the third one was grow. Amen. Is your faith fireproof? Then the Sunday before that, our youth pastor, K.C. Finley, Mr. God's son himself, told us and declared no more setbacks. We talked about how something, yes, Lord, the things you are holding is the thing you're holding worth more than what's getting fallen. Lord, oh, we learned that although something is broken doesn't mean that it's trash worthy. We learned that no more setbacks about the leaning on in this season, but that we had to lean on God. Yes, Lord. And we can't focus on leaning on our leader as much as leaning on God. We declare no more setbacks. Yes, Lord. And watch this. Y'all don't know this, but even the week before that, we deemed it Super Sunday. Yes, this is when Bishop went out and she did some traveling, and she talked about it was time at the Exodus Church, a powerful message on leadership. And the question was, can you handle what your leader hands you? If your leader hands you the keys, are you able to handle them? If your leader gives you something to do, can you handle it? Can you handle the weight of what your leader hands you? Amen. And then y'all know we did the Tina Turner rolling. We did the rolling on the river. Do up, do. Yes, Lord, we was rolling. And then before that, we was in Rocheron, Texas at the Word of Restoration, where we learned that we had it in us all the time. Amen. The importance of learning and knowing what you need and you had on the inside of you all the time. We learned that this was a good one too, Bishop. We learned the difference between shutting and closing. Come on. Y'all remember that? Ooh, Lord, we learned the difference between shutting and closing. Could it be a little crack in it and you can possibly squeeze in every now and then? Oh, but when you shut the door, you close the door, you lock the door, you put a chair under the door to make sure that no one can enter. We secure it. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So I ask you, is your door closed or is it shut? So that was our recap for the month of February. Lord, don't fake it, faith it. That's some good words. Yes, Lord, is your faith fireproof? No more setback. It's time, and I had it in me all the time. And then there was this Sunday. Yes, Lord, the last Sunday of the month. My God, and I have the honor and the privilege of closing it. And my title subject this morning, real simple, is hashtag I faith it. I faith it. I didn't fake it. I faked it. And it's coming out of a familiar text, Hebrews 11. I'm going to be doing some reading here, and we're going to talk about some people in the Bible who didn't fake it, but faked it. Amen? So let's talk about the book of Hebrews real quick before we get started. We've learned in Hebrews that the author for Hebrews is unknown. The audience is primarily Jewish Christians. The date was about AD 67 through 70. The book of Hebrews demonstrates the absolute supremacy and sufficiency of learning Christ as a revealer and a mediator of God's grace. Anybody needs God's grace this morning? Amen. Let's go to Hebrews 11. The first verse, I'm going to read it from the King James Version. Now faith, you may stand. substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That's the King James Version. I'm going to say it again. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Look at your neighbor on the side of you and say, I faithed it. Say, I don't know what you're going through, but this word right here is for me. It's a personal word. You may be seated. Amen. Amen. So we're going to talk about a couple of people that faithed it in the Bible instead of faking it. Amen. Now, when we go back to our scripture, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. The word substance, the word translated substance, comes from the Greek word hypostasis, which means a placing or a setting under or a substructure or foundation. Evidence, the word translated evidence, comes from the Greek word elegogos, meaning a proof or that by which a thing is proved or tested or convicted in this morning. And we're going to talk about two people in the Bible, and then I'm going to give you a regular person for my third part that faked it instead of faking it. Amen. If you could, please, let's go to Genesis 22. Very familiar passage. Bishop, I came with my Bible this morning because God wants me to do some reading. We don't read the Bible enough. You know, if we're going to have faith, the Bible says faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. If you don't have the word of God, if you're not reading the word of God, then your faith is dormant. The only way that you can wake your faith up, the only way that your faith can become alive, the only way that you can begin to move by faith is to have the word of God. And Sister Cortez, I'm weary of people who talk faith, but they talk faith standing still. They talk faith sitting down. They talk faith laying down. Faith is an action word. Faith, you have to move. You can't say faith and not do faith. So in order to do faith, you have to move. Amen? So I want to talk about this passage in the Bible, Genesis 22. First chapter, we're going to read 1 through 14. I'll read. You don't have to go there with me, but I want you to really just listen to the words that I'm saying and let them come alive. I'm going to read them out of the Message version. After all this, God tested Abraham. Said, Abraham, yes, Abraham, I'm listening. Make sure you pay attention to that word, listening. Because if you're going to faith it, the first thing you have to make sure you do is hear and obey. Hear and obey. And all of this, God tested Abraham. God said, Abraham, yes, Abraham, I'm listening. He said, take your dear son Isaac, whom love, and go to the land of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering. Is there anybody in here that's willing to do some sacrifice? Is there anybody in here that's ready to deny themselves to do what it is that God is calling them to do? I want to tell you something, that sacrificing is uncomfortable. So if you're doing something and it's comfortable, it's not a sacrifice. Amen. Abraham got up early in the morning and saddled his donkey. He took 2 of his young servants and his son Isaac. He had split wood for the burnt offering. He set out for the place God had directed him. On the 3rd day, he looked up and saw the place in the distance. Abraham told his 2 servants, stay here with the donkey. The boy and I are going over there to worship. Then we'll come back to you. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and gave it to Isaac, his son, to carry. He carried the flint and the knife. The 2 of them went off together. Isaac said to Abraham, his father, Father, yes, my son, we have flint and wood, but where's the sheep for the burnt offering? Isaac was asking the question, Daddy, I see the flint. Daddy, I see the wood, but Daddy, I don't see the sacrifice. Where, Daddy, is the sacrifice? Where, I want to ask the church, where is the sacrifice? except for in the church. We don't sacrifice in the church. We think that the church should sacrifice for us. My God. We have Flintwood, but where's the sheep for the burnt offering? Abraham said, son, God will see to it that there's a sheep for the burnt offering. And they kept on walking together. They arrived at the place to which God had directed him. Abraham built an altar. He laid out the wood, then he tied up Isaac and laid him on the wood. I want to declare to you today that God will tie up your blessing until you're ready for it. God will tie up your peace until you're ready for it. God will tie up your breakthrough until you're ready for it. God will tie up your joy until you're ready for it. Amen. Oh, then just then, Abraham reached out and took the knife to kill his son. Just then, an angel of God called to him out of heaven, Abraham, Abraham. Yes, I'm listening. Don't lay a hand on that boy. Don't touch him. Now I know how fearlessly you fear God. You didn't hesitate to place your son, your dear son, on the altar for me. And I want to ask you a question. What are you willing to lay on the altar for God? Are you willing to lay your flesh on the altar? Are you willing to lay your mind on the altar? Are you willing to lay your body on the altar? What are you willing to lay on the altar for God to get the glory out of your life? So these things that I want to talk about in this passage, the first one, you know that Abraham heard God. See, in the church, we don't have a problem with hearing God when we're hearing God for ourselves. Dr. C, the only time we have a problem with hearing God is when we need to hear God for somebody else. See, I can hear God for me, but when God tells me to say something to you, then I get a little weary. Then I get a little shaky. Then I question, is that really God? Why? Because sometimes God will have you to speak to someone that in the natural you don't want to speak to. In the natural, it don't feel good for you to talk to them. You in the natural, you may not even like that person. In the natural, you may not know him, but because you have laid your life down on the altar, God said, I need you to go and speak to this woman of God. Yes, you don't know her. Yes, you don't know her situation. Yes, you don't know her circumstance. Yes, you don't know what's going on in her life. But I need you to speak life, because just this morning she had a gun to her head and she was getting ready to blow her brains out. And if I don't send a messenger to her, she may not make it till the next day. So you go in her and you look in her eyes and you say, woman of God, I don't know what's going on, but God has a purpose for your life. God has a calling for your life. Don't you dare give up on God. Don't you dare walk away from God. Don't you dare walk away from God doing what he's getting ready to do in your life. Put that gun down. You got too much living to do. You got too much purpose in you. You got too much dedication in you. You got too much life in you. But I gotta ask you, are you willing to obey and listen to God when he tells you to do something? So we have to be careful of selective hearing. We have to be careful of being selective, the hearing the feel-good stuff. Hearing, I'm going to bless you with a car. I'm going to bless you with a house. I'm going to bless you with money. That's feel-good. But then when you hear, I'm going to send you through a trial of tests. Oh, God. I'm going to take you up. I'm going to take you down. I'm going to take you in. I'm going to take you out. Or when you say, I'm finna snatch your car. I'm finna snatch your house. You get ready to walk off that job. You saying, God, wait a minute. Wait. Wait. Hold on. Is that really you? So we got to make sure that we're not just selective hearing when it comes to God. And I want to tell you something, that if God is telling you everything that makes you feel comfortable, it's not God. It's not all God, I should say, because he will purposely tell you something that'll make you feel uncomfortable. He will purposely tell you something that'll make you say, oh, God. He'll make you say something, do something, or say something that'll make you feel tight on the inside. But that's how God gets the glory out of your life. Amen? Oh, my God. And I want to let you know that this passage Abraham knew that he had to hear and obey God. He knew that it was important that he did this, even though he really knew the outcome. Because if you was reading Genesis 17, God had already spoke to Abraham about Isaac and about his destiny and about his future. So Abraham knew that if I listen to God, and even if I have to slay my own son, is one or two things that God is going to do. Either he's going to come through and he's going to provide another sacrifice, or he's going to raise my son from the dead. But whatever it was, hey, that's not on me, that's on God. All I know is what God told me. All I'm standing on is what God told me. All I'm doing is what God told me. I just believe God. If I slay my son, then he has the power to resurrect him. If I slay my son, he has the power to bring him back. If I slay my son, he has the power to let him live again. Amen? Amen. So, Abraham never had a problem with obeying God. Abraham never had a problem with doing God's will. Abraham, no matter how uncomfortable it made him feel, and I asked the question, are you willing to be uncomfortable in order to obey God? Are you willing to be uncomfortable in order to obey God? So, God says in 22:12, don't lay a hand on that boy. Don't touch him. Now I know how fearless you fear God. You didn't hesitate to place your son, your dear son, on the altar for me. See, him placing him on the altar was not for him, but it was for God. And as I read this text and I dug in this text and I researched this text, a lot of times people think that Isaac was a little boy. Isaac was not a little boy. Isaac was pretty much older. He was like a late teenager or early adult, which means that Isaac could have fought his father if he wanted to. So I want to tell you that it wasn't just the one person that was up there that needed to hear the voice of God. It was two people up there that needed to hear the voice of God. I'm sure God was speaking to Isaac, and when his daddy said, lay down, my son, God probably co-signed and said, lay down, son. I'm going to tie you up. He going to tie you up, son. Amen? Amen. So you got to you got to hear, and you got to obey God. It's so key if you're going to do this faith thing. Amen? I got another person. If we go to 2 Samuel 17. This one right here. So the first thing you have to make sure you do is hear and obey. And the second thing is you have to be confident in God. You know, all week long, Sister Kim, all I heard was the word confidence. When I was in the room and my sister walked in the room and the first word she said is confident. When I was flipping through TV all week long, all I heard was the word confidence. You know, the first January when we was watch God work, being confident of this very thing. If you're going to faith it, you got to have confidence. And let me tell you something, your confidence cannot be geared off of what somebody else say or what somebody else think or what somebody else do. Your confidence has to be stored on the inside of you. So when nobody else can give you confidence, you got to be able to confidence yourself. You got to be able to get in the mirror and say, boy, look at you. Boy, look at you. Now understand something. There's a fine line between confidence and being conceited. And unfortunately, I've been on both sides. I've been on the confident side and I've been on the conceited side. And let me tell you something, God does not like conceitedness at all, because God will snatch you just as soon as you think about you just all this and a bag of chips. He'll say, okay, wait a minute. And then he loves us so much that sometimes he'll send somebody and say, hey, you got a little too much going on. You feeling yourself just a little bit too much. But you got to have the confidence, but not the conceitedness. Amen? And then you got to also make sure that your confidence is not just in you, but your confidence is in God. And you see, this next passage that I'm getting ready to read about David and Goliath, David's confidence was not in himself. David's confidence was in God. David knew that God was the one that he was walking with. David knew that if anybody was going to do it, it was going to be God that was going to do it. David knew that if anybody was going to win, I was going to win through God. Amen. So this is a pretty lengthy reading, but I really want y'all to flow with me, because what I want y'all to do is when we leave this place, I want y'all to have the confidence in God to do what it is that he's calling you to do this season. You got to have confidence, but you make sure that the confidence is not in yourself, it's in God. That's the key. See, a lot of people have confidence in themselves. They don't have confidence in God. You have to have the confidence in God. So because this reading is so lengthy, oh God, I love, yes, Lord, I know we're going to start at chapter 17, verse 26. David, who was talking to the men, let me set this up for you. Goliath, Philistine, big guy, came to intimidate. And he stepped out one day and said, who want to fight me? I'm paraphrasing. Who want to fight me? But because of his stature, because of the size that he was, because of his demeanor, nobody wanted to fight him. So one day, Jesse, the son, the father of David, asked David to take some lunch down to his older brothers, right? See, you got to understand that this season, you're going to walk in as a spectator, but you're going to leave a participator. See, David went down as a spectator, but he became a participator. Why? Because he was confident in God. Have you ever walked in somewhere and said, hey, I'm just going to come in. I'm just coming in to sit. Oh, I know Bishop had. Hey, I'm just going to come in and sit down. Hey, how y'all doing there? Hey, can we get you to do such and such? Hey, while you're here, do you mind such and such? Hey, can you do that? Oh, okay, amen. So you're going to walk in. I don't know where you're getting ready to walk into, but you're going to walk in as a spectator and you're going to leave out a participator. Amen. Okay, here we go. David 17:26. David, who was talking to the men standing around him, asked, what's in it for the man who kills that Philistine and gets rid of this ugly blot of Israel's honor? Who does he think he is? Anyway, this uncircumcised Philistine, taunting the armies of God alive. They told him that everyone was saying about the king would do the man who killed the Philistine. Eliab, watch this, y'all. Eliab, his older brother, heard David fraternizing with the men and lost his temper. What are you doing here? Why aren't you minding your own business, tending to the scrawny flock of sheep? Now, this is his older brother asking him, what is he doing here? Because he knew that now David was in the building. Everything was getting ready to shift. What he was scared to do, what he was afraid to do, he knew that David would step to it. So he's upset with David about being there. So I want to tell you in this season, you got to be careful of those that's trying to demise you, because you are in the building. You are in the building on purpose. You are in the building for purpose. You are in the building with purpose. So whatever it is, if somebody say, why are you doing here? I'm here to do God's business. What you doing here? I'm here to do God's business. What you doing here? I'm here to do what you're afraid to do. What you doing here? I'm here to do what you was called to do. My God. So his brother, why aren't you minding your own business, feeding the scrawny flock of sheep? I know what you're up to. You've come down here to see the sights, hoping for a ringside seat and a bloody bath. What is it with you? Replied David. All I did was ask a question. He just asked a question and his brother flipped, because his brother knew if David gets the information that David needs, we in trouble. David is going to step when we want. David is going to do what we want. David is going to be what we want. So what is it with you? Replied David. All I did was ask a question. Ignoring his brothers, he turned to someone else and ask the same question. Let me tell you something. If you ask somebody a question and they're not giving you the answer that you want, don't listen to them no more. Find somebody else to ask the same question to. That's not the person that you need to be asking the question to. You probably need to ask another person. So if this person don't want to give me the answer, excuse me, ma'am, can you help me? If this person don't want to give me the answer, excuse me, ma'am, can you help me? If this person, but you keep on finding and asking that question till you find your answer. Amen. Amen. Okay, here we go. David said, going back up, 31. The things David was saying were picked up and reported to Saul. Saul sent for him. Master, said David, don't give up hope. I'm ready to go and fight the Philistine. Saul answered David, you can't go and fight this Philistine. You're too young and inexperienced, and he's been at the fighting business since before you were born. David said, I've been a shepherd, tending sheep for my father. Whenever a lion or a bear came and took a lamb from the flock, I'd go after it, knock it down, and rescue the lamb. If it turned on me, I'd grab it by the throat, wring its neck, and kill it. Lion or bear, it made no difference. I killed it. What are you willing to grab by the neck and kill this season? What fear are you willing to grab by his neck and kill it? What doubt are you willing to grab by his neck and kill it? What lack are you willing to grab by his neck and kill it? You got to be willing to kill it in this season. I killed it, and I'll do the same of this Philistine pig who is taunting the truth of God, a live God. So he's saying he don't like the fact that Goliath is taunting not just the people, but God's people. It's one thing for you to be taunting the people, but now you're taunting God's people. And David had a problem with that. David didn't like that. David despised of the fact that Goliath was taunting God's people. God, who delivered me from the teeth of the lion and the claws of the bear, will deliver me from the Philistine. David saying, I've been through this test before. This ain't my first rodeo. I've fought lions. I've fought bears. Things that tried to kill me, I've killed. So while you telling me that I'm inexperienced, I'm telling you that I am experienced. Check my resume. And that's what you're going to have to tell some people in this faith this season. Hey, I know you probably think I ain't never did this before, but let me tell you what I did. I overcame this. I overcame that. I went through this. I was victorious in that. I did this, I did that. So I'm telling you, my resume proves that I can do this. Don't worry about what they say. Don't worry about what you see. Don't worry about what you think. Trust me when I tell you, I am assured that I can do this. Oh, my God. So he finally convinced Saul. And Saul said, go. God help you. Then Saul outfitted David as a soldier in the army. He put his bronze helmet on his head and belted his sword on him over the armor. David tried to walk, but he could hardly budge. You got to be careful when you're getting ready to do something and someone is trying to give you their armor. Because it worked for them doesn't mean that it worked for you. Because it fit them doesn't mean that it fits you. Because it secured them doesn't mean that it secured you. And the last thing you're trying to do is when you're getting ready to go to war is put on somebody else's armor. Because you can't walk in it. You can't move in it. You can't. My God. So David said, hey, I appreciate the offer, but let me give this back to you. I don't need this. Because another reason why you got to be careful of putting on people's armor is because they'll try to take the credit for your victory.
Come on.
You do know that it's what I gave you is why you won. You do know that the only reason why you're victorious is because of what I did for you. You do know that the only way you teach like this is because of what I put in you. You do know that the only reason you drive in that car is because of what I gave you. You do know that the only reason why doors are opening up for you is because of who I am, and I'm sweetheart. You didn't get me in the door. God got me in the door. So be careful when people try to give you their army to fight your battle. Because when it's your battle to fight, God will make sure that you're equipped with every single thing that you need. He'll make sure you have this when you need it. He'll make sure you have that when you need it. He'll make sure you have this over there when you need it. How do I know, Elder Boudreaux? Because he did it for me. I've seen him make ways for me. I've seen him do things for me. I've seen him open doors for me. I've seen him wipe the tears from my eyes. I've seen what he's done. Then, so we're going, David said, Saul, I can't even move with all this stuff on me. I'm not used to this. And he took it off. Then David took his shepherd's staff, selected 5 smooth stones from the brook, and put them in the pocket of his shepherd's pack. And with his sling in his hand, approached Goliath. As the Philistines paced back and forth, his shield bearer in front of him, he noticed David. He took one look down on him and sneered, a mere youngster, apple cheek and peach fuzz. The Philistine ridiculed David. Am I a dog that you come after me with a stick? And he cursed him by his gods. Come on, said the Philistine. I'll make roadkill of you from the buzzard. So Goliath looked at David and said, are you serious? Is this what y'all sending to come against me? Are you telling me that this is what you sending to come against me? I'm Goliath. I'll step on this little dude. This dude ain't no match for me. But David stood there confident. See, you got to be careful that when the enemy is talking crazy, when the enemy is trying to size you up, when the enemy is telling you you're too small, when the enemy is telling you you don't have the money, when the enemy is telling you you don't have the education, you stand there confident, watch this, in God. Yes, Lord. And that's what David did. He stood there in confident because he knew that God was with him. He knew that no matter what was taking place, God was on his side. As the Philistines ridiculed David, am I a dog that you come after me with a stick? And he cursed him by his God. Come on, said the Philistine. I'll make roadkill of you for the buzzards. I'll turn you into a tasty morsel for the field mice. David answered so calmly, so cool, so collected. Why? Because David was confident in God. David said, you come at me with sword and a spear and battle axe. I come at you in the name of God of the angel of armies, the God of Israel, troops whom you curse and mock. This very day God is handing you over to me. I'm about to kill you, cut off your head and serve up your body and the bodies of your Philistine buddies to the crows and coyotes. He's saying, you talking noise, but you don't even know what I'm getting ready to do to you. You talking noise, but you don't even know that you're getting ready to meet your maker. You talking noise, but your life expansion that's on earth is getting ready to be shortened. You talking noise, oh, but get ready, because I'm getting ready to do something. Let's see, roused the Philistine, and he started forward toward David. David took off from the front line, running toward the Philistine. David reached into his pocket for a stone, slung it, and hit the Philistine hard in the forehead, embedding the stone deeply. The Philistine crashed face down in the dirt. That's how David beat the Philistine, with a sling and a stone. I don't care if God only gives you a sheet of paper and a pen. Whatever God gives you in order to defeat your enemy, you use that. If he give you a pair of socks and a shoestring, you use that. If he give you just your cell phone, you use that. Whatever it is that God gives you to use to break down your Goliath, you use that. Oh. My God. That's how David beat the Philistine, with the sling and the stone. He hit him and killed him. No sword sword for David. David didn't need a sword. What you thought that you needed to win in your victory, you don't need that. You just need what God gave you in the first place. You thought you was going to need a whole bunch of people. You thought you was going to need your crew. You thought you was going to need your siblings. You thought you was going to need mama them and cooking them. But all you needed to have is confidence in God to do what it is that God has called you to do. Oh. Then David ran up to the... Now watch this. This part right here. Y'all, this is the one that gets me happy. That then David ran up to the Philistine and stood over him, pulled out the giant sword in his heft, and finished the job by cutting off his head. Yes, this season you may kill that thing, but it's not done until you cut off his head. You got to cut the head off of the enemy. Yes, Lord, you can't just kill him. You got to cut his head off. You got to cut the head off of lack. You got to cut the head off of doubt. You got to cut the head off of sickness. You got to cut the head off. Oh my God, what is it that you need to cut the head off in? Cut the head off of it. My God, I remember a few years ago, Dr. C, me and my brother, he not here, but me and my brother, we had this situation, and some of y'all may remember this. We had a situation with a snake. A snake was trying to enter unwanted territory. A snake was trying to parachute or get into somewhere that they're not supposed to go. So my brother and I, the snake had kind of like went in the vehicle or whatever. So we jumped in the vehicle and we took the snake to a lot, right? Yeah. I wish he was here. He can confirm this. But some of these people know. So we took the snake and we took it to a field, right? So by the time we got the snake to the field, it started coming out of the car. It started coming out the car. Yeah, you got to be careful of those snakes that's trying to ride with you in this season. But it started coming out the car. So I was on one side and my brother was on the other side. We both had shovels, right? And we began to hit that snake. Hit it. It was moving. I don't care if the enemy is moving. You keep on hitting it. You hear what I'm saying? So before you know it started slowing down. So my brother looked at me. He said, I think it's dead. I said, okay, that's cool. I said, wait a minute. I went back with my shovel and I began to hit the head and I dismantled the head from the body because you got to be willing to cut your head off to make sure that that thing is dead. We said, we're not happy with this. Cut the head off. Oh my God, are you willing to cut? What are you willing to cut the head off this season? I declare to you that you cut the head off. Cut the head off of low self-esteem. Cut the head off of doubt. Cut the head off of not having enough. Cut the head off. What are you willing to cut the head off? What are you willing to cut the head off? Is there anybody in here that's saying, Lord, I got to cut his head off? I can't just kill it. I can't just kill it because I may think it's dead, but it may come back alive. But if I cut the head off, then I know it's dead for sure. If I cut the head off, I know it ain't coming back. If I cut the head off, yes, it's R.I.P. for real. Amen. Oh my God, is there anybody here that know they got to cut the head off? Cut the head off, cut the head off. Come on, look at your neighbor and say, I got to cut the head off. I got to do what David did. David didn't just kill Goliath. David cut Goliath's head off. David wanted to make sure that he sent a message to all the other enemies that may be thinking about stepping to me. If you think about stepping to me, you better look at Goliath. If you're thinking about coming for me, you better look at Goliath. If you're thinking about running me down, you better look at Goliath. Because I don't play no games. I don't just kill. I cut heads off. So I tell you, cut the head off. Cut the head off. Cut the head off of lack. Cut the head off of uncertainty. Cut the head off. I mean, kill it dead. Kill it dead. It's still moving. I don't even know. I have some popos in the building, but I don't know. But I think that they say that when you shoot for the head. You don't just shoot for the body. You don't just shoot for the leg. Shoot the head, because you know what? If you hit the head, everything else gonna come down. Yes, Lord, you got to hit the head in this season. Oh. I'm trying. Let me see where we are. Okay, we're doing good. So the first step we talked about was obey and listen. All right? The second one, obey and listen to God. Okay, I need to make that clear. Obey and listen to God. Okay? The second one, confidence in God. Okay? Okay? Obey and listen to God. Confidence in God. Amen? Obey and listen to God. Abraham. Confidence in God. David. The third one, and this is my last one, and I'm going to take my seat, is trust in God. You say, now, Elder Boudreaux, who you going to use in the Bible for that one? I'm not going to use nobody in the Bible. I'm going to use somebody that y'all know. I'm going to use me. Do y'all mind if I shut my Bible real quick and I just use me? It's okay to use biblical principles, but sometimes you just got to use some things that people can relate to more. And I think that y'all can relate to me just a little bit more. Amen. Let me set this thing up. Elder Robbins, January, I want to say it was the 27th. Had a great church service. Bishop preached a mighty word, like she always does. That's just what she do, right? Had the privilege, I call it a privilege of going and dining with her afterward, her and a couple other the saints. Sitting there just kind of talking about Valentine's Day. And then one of the saints, I don't want to say her name, because if I say her name, then everybody gonna know it was Elder Hook. So I don't want to say her name. Now there's a couple of things that when you talking to Elder Hook, she don't play with. Okay? Number one, if she say, I hate the devil, she mean that. She hates the devil. Number one. Number two, she'll say, up, up, up. Means you got to come on up. Like wherever you at, you got to come on up. So we talking, And she say, Valentine's Day. I said, yeah, well, I want to do something special, this and that. She say, Elder? I said, yeah. She said, up, up, up. I said, okay. I said, all right. So then I said, okay. I said, all right. So then, other people at the table start firing out stuff. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, okay. I'm just, and on the inside, I'm like, I'm doing like this here. Elder Carter told us last week about that no faith, little faith, great faith. Well, I don't know, Elder Carter, is there such thing as a tainted faith? Tainted faith. That's right in between little faith and no faith. Tainted faith. I don't want to say it ain't have, Elder Carter, I don't want to say it ain't have no faith. But it was tainted faith. Let me tell you, one more the faith, it was so tainted that when we left the table, I went home and went to sleep. I did. I went home and took a nap. Elder Ross, I said, Lord have mercy. I said, God, okay. So, because they worked me over at the table. I try to change the subject, they'll bring it all the way back. And I try to just, no, come on. So I said, okay. So I go home with, my wife, you all right? I said, I just need to lay down. I just need to take a nap. I said, what's going on? I said, I don't know what, and the way God had it was, my wife, she was there, but she had stepped away from the table. So she didn't know what was going on. So she was, what is this? I said, I just need to take a nap. You gonna take it? I said, yeah, I just need to lay down. I need to lay down. So I take a nap, Elder Robbins, and I wake up, right? And I grab my phone. And my spiritual mother, like only she can do, had sent the text. And it was like, breathe. Because I think she saw I was about to pass out. Because they were working me over at that table. She said, breathe. Just breathe. Like only she could. Even in a text message. You can hear it. Just breathe. Just breathe. Because she got this love that, it's only she can deliver. So, and that's exactly what I did when I read she. I said, okay. And she said, write down everything that you do, this journey that you're about to go on. I said, okay. I didn't understand it then. So then I go to God. I say, all right, God, I want to do such and such. I'm feeling such and such. And he spoke to me so clearly, Sister Kim. He said, if you're willing, I'm able. where you at. I know what's in your account. I know what's hovering over you. But even with that, if you are willing, I'm able. And I sat on the edge of my bed and I said, God, I'm willing. And we began to put a plan together. Me and God began to do this and put that and put this. Sister Kim, I didn't know how I was going to pay for this. I didn't know how I was going to do this. I really didn't. But all I can remember in my head was God saying, if you're willing, I'm able. Because we serve a God that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ask or think. Watch this, bro. According to the power that worketh on you. That's why he asked me the question, are you willing? If you're willing, I'm able. And once I told him that I was willing, it was it's time to go to work. So if y'all don't mind, I want to close this thing out on the journey that God sent me on those 15 days. I want y'all to come go with me. And I want y'all to see and to understand that now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I got my journey. It's going to start back there. So if y'all don't mind, can I go back there? And I'm going to start my journey. I'm going to start this journey, bro, because I want to help somebody. This journey that I'm on ain't just about me. Because if it was just about me, then God wouldn't have had his hands on it like he had his hands on it. But because he knew that somebody was going to see this journey, somebody's faith was going to be stirred from this journey, somebody's marriage was going to be healed from this journey, then he said, I got to put you on it. I said, okay. So he said, let the journey begin. Day one, love, the foundation of it all. Somebody say now. Yeah. Oh, good God. Day two, I served her. Because in this season, if you don't have faith, you got to be willing to serve. Somebody say faith. Day three, I handed her a devotional because she had been a devoted wife. Somebody say is. I deemed it Queen Day. Why? Because she is my queen. Somebody say D. Day 5, you got to check. She had spent time with a friend. Watch this, bro. She spent time with a friend on my dime. I paid for it. I left my credit card there because I didn't want her to worry about cost. You need a friend that you can talk to. You need a friend that you can go spend time with. Yes, I'm her husband, but she had to have a friend that she can lean her head on. She had to have a friend that she can discuss things with. She had to have a friend that she can just be goo-goo gaga with. Amen? Somebody say something. Faith is day 5, time with a friend. Substance. Day 6, I got you covered. I gave her a cover because you cover those. My bishop told me, you cover those that you protect. You cover those that you love. You cover those that you want to see make it. So my word was up. So wait a minute. Now, faith is the substance of day 7. Elder Carter, I deem this TBT. Why? Because sometimes you got to look back and see how far God has brought you from. He started me at day 1 where I had tanchy faith. But now I'm at day 7 where now I got a little faith. Come on, somebody. Look back and see how far you have come. Somebody say things. Oh, God. Number 8, I gave her a calendar, a customized calendar, because I want to make sure that we keep the fire burning, bro. The worst thing you can do in your marriage is let your fire burn out. And I was close to letting my fire burn out. Oh, but thanks be unto God that because I was willing, God was able. Somebody shoot. Why? Because I want God to capture her beauty. I want God to see the beauty that's in her face. I want God to see the beauty that's in her body. So I gave her a photo shoot. Somebody say, "Photo." Wait a minute. Let me run this thing back. Now. Day 1, faith. Day 2, the 4 is. Day 3, 4, D. Day 5, substance. Day 6, Day 7, things. Day 8, hope. Day 9, 4. Day 10, I gave her sweets. Why? Because she's so sweet to me. And you got to be willing to give sweets to the sweet teen. Day 11, I made sure that she got her nails done. I gave her a gift certificate to get her nails done. Why? Because God is getting ready to channel some things through her hand. Yes, Lord. See, you don't understand that this journey wasn't just for me. God was prophesying during this journey. God was prophesying to her. God was getting her ready for what He getting ready to do, not in my life, but what He getting ready to do in her life.
Watch it, son.
Day 12. God is getting ready to take her places. So I gave her got her nails, her feet done. Because God is getting ready to take her places. God is getting ready to take her places. God is getting ready to take her places. Oh my God.
My God. Take your time, son.
Day 13. I told her how I feel about it, and I put it on a billboard. Why? Because I wanted everybody to know. I wanted everybody to see. I wanted everybody to be a part. I wanted everybody to understand. So I didn't just text it to her. I didn't just call and tell her. I put it on a big billboard, Chris, so that everybody could see. I told her how extra she was to me. I told her that she was my sweetheart. I told her that she was my manipulator. I told her that she was my Rice Krispie treat. I told her all those things, that she was my coffee in the morning, that she was my Tylenol when I had her. I put it on a billboard. Things. Because I'm working my faith. I'm working my faith. Faith is the substance of things. Hope for the evidence of things. Day 15. The grand finale. Oh, wait. Day 14.
All right.
See how the enemy will do? He'll try to get you to skip a day. He'll try to get you to cross over this day so you can get to the end of it. He wants you to get in a hurry. Oh, but thank be God to the Holy Ghost that He won't let you. So day 14, I celebrated her with love on Love Day and delivered it myself. I actually, let me tell you, bro, when I pulled up to a job, I called Chris. I said, Chris, come out and get it. Chris said, no, bro, I can't come out and get it. You got to bring it to him. It'll be different if you bring it to him. Bro, don't you dare deliver it. Take it to him. You understand what I'm saying? I don't care if you got to take a couple extra steps. I don't care if it makes you uncomfortable. I don't care if you're going to be late for work. You make sure that you deliver it to her yourself.
Come on. Wasn't even dressed right, but still show up. Come on, man.
I had my workout clothes on.
Yes, you did. So that's all right.
Bro,
Work it out.
I had my workout clothes on. But I realized that if this thing was going to make sense, God was going to work this thing out. If this thing was going to make sense, God was going to make me uncomfortable to make her comfortable. I had to make sure that I was willing to look like a fool in order to show her how much I love her. So, day 15.
My God.
Day 15.
Lord have mercy.
Day 15. The finale. The finale showed and expressed the love I and God had for her. See, it wasn't just my love working through her, for her. It was God's love working through her. So I had to trust Him in day 1. I had to trust Him in day 2. I had to trust Him in day 3. I had to trust Him in day 4. I had to trust Him in day 5. I had to trust Him in day 6. I had to trust Him in day 7. I had to trust Him in day 8. I had to trust Him in day 9. I had to trust Him in day 10. I had to trust Him in day 11. I had to trust Him in day 12. I had to trust Him in day 13. I had to trust Him in day 14. I had to trust Him in day 15. Why did you have to trust Him? Because the Bible says in Hebrews 11 and 1, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And I want to let you know, the journey continues. It didn't stop at day 15. The journey continues. The journey continues. But I had to trust him when I couldn't trace him. I had to trust him when I didn't know where the money was coming from. I had to trust him when I didn't understand what was all going on. I had to trust him. And you say, Elder Boudreaux, you was able to do that. But how was you able to do it by yourself? I wasn't able to do it by myself. That's why I thank God for the help. I made sure that God made sure that everything that I need, he'll send me a Sister Wanda. He'll send me a Sister Chris. He'll send me a Sister Carter. He'll send me an Elder Hubbard. Because once I got started, he made sure that I had the help that I needed. You got to make sure that you embrace the help. But your help ain't coming until you get started. Your help ain't coming until you make the decision. Your help ain't coming until you make the first step. I will never, oh God, here I go. I will never forget. It was about a year ago, Elder Carter. I was sitting up in my prayer room. I was praying to God. We had been on our prayer. Dr. C was telling us to get up 30 minutes early and just thank God. Y'all remember that? What started out 7 days, turned out to be 14 days, wound up to be 21 days. Was the last Sunday that we was going to do it. I got up and I began to pray. I was praying in my room. I was praying in my closet. But my body was weary. I was really getting tired. I said, Lord, I don't even know if I can pray. He said, just get started. So I began to pray. I began to thank him. I began to give him glory. I began to lift my hands up. But then I felt myself slipping. And right when I felt myself slipping, I heard somebody say, thank you, God. I had forgot that my mother-in-law was in the next room. She had spent the night. She was my help when I came out weak. God will send you your help. God will make sure that you have your help. How do I know, Elder Boudreaux? Because I'll tell you one more thing. We love our bishop. We love our pastor. Every Sunday, Sunday after Sunday, she preaches like she's losing her mind. She gets all of God's glory out of her. God uses her mightily. But she came to us about a month ago, and she said, I need to take a break. I need to sit down. But I need my leaders to lead the ship. I need my leaders to carry the ministry. I need my leaders to do what it is that I taught them to do. So the first week, she sent God's son to give a good word. The second week, she sent perspective coach to give a word. She looked at her chief adjutant and said, I need you to make sure that everything flows. She looked at our intercessor and said, be interceding for the services. Then she told me, stand before your people and give the word. That's what you call help. That's what you call help. But God will send your help. God will send you help. He'll send you the help. He'll send it to you. Oh, God. Put your hands together. Put your hands together. Put your hands together and let somebody know I faked it. Yes, I did. I faked it. I faked it when people was talking about me. I faked it when people was lying on me. I faked it when people didn't understand. I faked it with doors closed in my place. I faked it when I lost my job. I faked it when I didn't have gas money. I faked it when I didn't have food on my table. I faked it when my marriage was in trouble. I faked it when I was in the red. I faked it when I didn't have enough. I faked it when I couldn't tie. I faked it when I couldn't sew. I faked it when I couldn't give. But all I know is that I faked it. And because I faked it, and because I stood, and because I obeyed God, because I heard God, because I was confident in God, because I trusted God, watch God work. 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 If you don't believe it, just try it. If you don't believe it, just lean on it. If you don't believe it, just call out his name. Watch God work. I faked it. I faked it. When I couldn't see it, I faked it. And I realized, as I went on that journey, I realized that God was saying, no more setbacks. God was saying, it's time. God was saying, put your hands together. Put your hands together. Bless God. Bless God. Bless God. You might be saying, Boudreaux, you did all that with no problems. No. Because let me tell you, Sister Finley, during this journey, I got phone calls from the school about my daughter. Yeah. My little brother, who I pride myself in helping and raising, taking care of since my mom died, he began to struggle. My sister and I was at ugly odds. I mean ugly. She upset with me, I'm upset with her. All this going on. My refrigerator goes out. And I was talking to my brother, he said, oh man, it might be just something minor. But it wasn't minor. But it had to be taken care of. Refrigerator get taken care of, garage door opener goes out. All this going on while I'm in the midst of trying to prove my love and on my journey to the one who deals with me the most. See, y'all see this, but she sees something else. So if anybody was going to be celebrated, it wasn't me, it was her. See, it wasn't about me, it was about her and her journey. And even on this journey, I was blown away, and she was blown away because she was putting stuff on Facebook. You know, and at first I was like, why she put it on Facebook? Why? Because I didn't want people to think that we was trying to show them up or anything like that. But the number of people that was texting us, that was inboxing us, that was calling us, saying this journey, y'all just don't know. This helping me. This is blessing me. This is giving me something to look forward to. Now, bro, you would expect that from females. But then I started getting text messages from homies. Say, man, I got to do better. Say, man, I need a meeting with you. Say, man, what I thought I was doing, that ain't nothing. How you come up with this? Where you get this from? I said, to be honest with you, we've been through the fire. We've been through the flood. Oh, but God has been faithful. Because we faced it. That's why we faced it. I ain't say I faced it, I ain't say she faced it. I said we faced it. And we're going to continue to face it. Because like this says, the journey continues. It don't stop. Kim, after these 15 days, we don't go back to what it was. No. A couple days later, you can ask her. I walked in the house and gave her another gift. Why? She said, don't stop. Don't stop.
Hey, I know you right. I know you right.
And I go back to the distraction.
All right, now, come on.
Because I refuse to allow the distractions to stop.
That's right. Come on. Come on. Tell it. Tell it. Come on, Elder.
Everything that I was thinking was a distraction, God was using it, Elder Carter, and I use your word to fireproof my faith. Because, like I said, I started with tainted faith. And on day 15, the finale, that's when everything was going crazy. But because I had greater faith, it didn't even bother me. When that didn't happen, I just went to this. When that didn't happen, I just went to that. And at the end of